cross country, man. What are your thoughts on Akron getting cut?
Yeah, sad news. So they cut men's cross country. They also cut two other sports there. Um, Said that they're saving $4.4 million. It's interesting to me because you think cross country versus track. Track is so much more expensive. It also includes a lot more athletes in it, right? It would disrupt way more people's collegiate careers versus cross country, where theoretically most people who run cross country are also running distance on the track side of things. But from all indications, this is the first big program to do this since the pandemic came up, like the first Division I program that is established. We obviously know what they've done on the track, but even in cross country, they were 7th last year in Great Lakes. They were in the MAC. They had the individual champion out there too. So it seems like, from what I'm reading, this is going to be a more common occurrence until the financial situation gets stabilized across the country.
Yeah, I mean, what is it? It was men's golf, men's cross, and women's tennis.
Yes, I believe that's
Right.
right.
So, did they talk about how much each one cost? Because I feel like the
They
reason why
didn't.
men's cross was cut was because, for two reasons. I think they were like, "Hey, cutting men's cross country isn't really hurting the athletes because really 2/3 of the year they still have a sport to do. They still have indoor and outdoor.
Mhm.
So like, oh, we're only asking them to take a 33% cut on their collegiate career, because they still get to participate in the NCAA system
Mhm.
in two other seasons. So I think they look
Yeah.
at it as like it's not that hard of a cut on them because again, they're not they still get to be runners for Akron, right? They still get to put on the Akron
Yeah.
jersey. So I think they mentally think it's not that big of a deal. I also think it's a easy Title IX helper, right? Because if they're gonna cut women's tennis, they 100% need to start cutting men's events, so it helps them with their Title IX numbers because you know it's
But they're also
it's
cutting
easy to
golf too.
yeah,
I
but
mean,
golf
I don't know.
probably doesn't.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
golf I feel like it's the most expensive. Would you say? I don't know, right? I don't know.
Well, yeah, I am not plugged into the collegiate golf scene there, but if you think about the extremes in terms of how much a sport costs to participate in, you'd put distance running on one side, and you'd probably put golf, maybe football with all the equipment that is required. But getting onto a golf course is not cheap. I don't know the setup collegiately, but they have to travel. They have to go to competitions the same way that tennis does. The thing with, and this is probably why people are scratching their head, is cross country. They're traveling a handful of times a year. They don't require much equipment, and the
Or
scholarship
facilities.
hit, right? And the scholarship hit isn't dramatic. You're probably bringing in people to the school. We posted on our site a video from a D3 coach, and D3 doesn't offer scholarships, and she was giving basically her elevator pitch, and she's like, "Hey, we get people to come to the school to pay full tuition because they want to do sports too." And that's the case at some Division I programs as well too, especially ones mid-major or lower tier programs. So it's a head scratcher. What you're saying makes some sense though, where you want to lessen the impact of this, so you pick a sport where athletes are also competing in another sport. I feel bad, really bad, for the other two sports where their entire collegiate career gets uprooted. Um, I'm worried, of course, and I'm sure coaches throughout the country are worried that this is going to be the pretext for a lot of other decisions that they would otherwise want to make. Like athletic departments would want to cut down the amount of sports. I saw that some higher ups within the NCAA were meeting a couple weeks ago, and they were talking about, okay, what's the minimum amount of sports to sponsor to still be considered Division I? And they're thinking of lowering that. Well, if you're going to lower that, obviously means sports are going to get cut because budgets are going to get leaner. But I would guess that even in good times, people want to be in a solid financial position. So I think that that's going to be factored in here too. The fact of, okay, well, we got to make cuts somewhere. And when we get out of this, we want to be a good financial position.